Let's get things underway, shall we? TEDxBKK is thrilled with our speakers today, some of the most dynamic, interesting, and exciting people in the world. In the process of planning this event, they have inspired us greatly, and we hope that throughout today, they inspire you. All of them are different, but each one of them truly embodies our motto, minds wide open. So with that, I would like to call our first speaker to the stage. He is here going to open today's event with a welcome speech, an opening speech. He is the advisor to the Prime Minister, and then he is going to launch into his TEDx speech as the founder and chairman of the Asian Knowledge Institute. Please help me welcome Kun Apirak Kosayodhin.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Father Travis, Father Peter, and Rob, who has been brought TEDx Bangkok live here in Bangkok, that we could have the opportunity to speak to the world. On behalf of Prime Minister TEDxBKK, who couldn't come to this opening speech for this event this morning, he's and I myself are also the fan of TED.com, for the last over a year. Has been follow many great speakers that has been present at the TED Talk, and the TEDx has been organized around the world. The TED has been organized in many places. It's the great honor that I have the opportunity to stand up here on the TEDxBKK first time here in Thailand. The great speakers that have shared their ideas that has been spread throughout the social media. You have seen, the news ideas that came from the concern of the climate change that has been impact our everyday life. Here in Thailand, we has been focused more on the long-term sustainable development of this country. Last year, Prime Minister TEDxBKK has been the chair of ASEAN. That has been growing the community of the ASEAN of 500 million people who will work closely together. We has been launching, the same concept of TEDs. We believe in the new ideas. We believe in the new generation. So Thailand has been just launched, the new strategic move for the next 5 to 10 years. We call it creative economy. Creative economy talking about how we could privilege the strength and the identity that we have as the historical and also, the arts and culture of Thai society. And that could build on, the new ideas, the creativity, the designs, and add on the technology like TED did. So I'm very exciting when I first heard that TED will be launched, the first TEDx Bangkok here in Thailand. So on behalf of the Prime Minister of TEDxBKK, I would say, mostly welcome, all the audience. Thanks to the organizer, thanks to Romedy International School. That would be the historical first events debut for TED here in Thailand. Hello the world, hello TED Bangkok, hello Bangkok. Thanks a lot, for this opening speech. So next, I will perform, as my first speaker. I have seen, the way they move, the way they talk on the video, on the clips, on the YouTube, on the TED.com, for over a year. And this is one of my dreams that I would stand, as the speaker of TED, and here in my home country, here in Thailand. The idea that I like to speak to you, for this morning is the idea of everyone would be agree more that we're talking about the new Asia. The Asia seems to be very important, very exciting for everyone, especially from the last post-crisis. The post-crisis we call hamburger crisis. Comparing over 10 years ago, that has been initiated here in Thailand, we call it Tom Yam Gung crisis. I'm glad that I have the opportunity to taste the hamburger this morning because I have to arrive here. So I have McDonald's to get experience of how the hamburger crisis, would be look like. So when we're talking about the new Asia, we're talking about the new generation of Asia. I call it Gen A. So that's going to be the topic that I would like to elaborate. The way I see it, the way the world should be supposed to see it. We have a lot of new generation in this room. I thought that Generation Asia or Gen A has been groomed from the Asian family. Today, you are celebrate the atmosphere of Chinese New Year. You have seen the dance to celebrate the Chinese New Year. Happen to be this year is Chinese New Year and Valentine. So TED, the red color is also very, in line, with the theme of the color that we celebrate for this year. So when you're talking about, the idea of I like to share this morning, you look at the map, of this planet, you would see a lot of Asian people who are not only living in Asian location, but they also have spread out in many places. For myself, I'm glad to be here again. My son graduated from Romridi International School. When he's grown up at the middle school, I sent him to the UK. So we have the experience of boarding school, 3 years in the UK, and then he decided to come back here again to finish his high school. And then he moved to the US, for a year, study at Babson College. He didn't enjoy it very much, so he decided to come back. And right now he stays at the Mahidol International College here. So what I'm trying to say is that you will see a lot of Asians that parents had sent them out to the world. Some of them go to the States, some of them go to Australia, some of them might go to other countries within Asia, or even go to UK or in Europe. So that's the combination of how the generation Asia or younger generation has been groomed from a very local and traditional Asian family, like Chinese family, Japanese family, Korean, Thai family. So they would have, has been grown up with a very warm and a very kind, a very good heart. And that's the way, of how the Asian has been lived. But right now, things has been changed. You're talking about the numbers of population in China combined with India. You're talking about the new kind of, emerging market like in Korea. You're talking about, the emerging ASEAN community. When you're talking about only Thailand, we have 60 million people. But when you combine 10 nations in ASEAN community, it has been grown to 500 million. So in the near future, the large population of English speaking is one going to be American or English. It's going to be Chinese. It's going to be Japanese or Indian. Count the number of English-speaking population. So that's going to be some kind of the new paradigm would be shift. When you're talking about, the people from the West, the big multinational company that launched the product, here in Thailand, in Tokyo, in Seoul, Beijing, or Shanghai. So you need to learn and understand, how the new culture, about how to do business in Asia. And when you're talking about these Asian youth, it's not only because they are your customer or your consumer, but they also become in the next 5 to 10 years, they become, the new generation, they become the new Asian leader. So I think that's very important that we have the opportunity to learn how they think, to learn about their behavior, to learn about their look into their future. To look into, not only the traditional Asian value that has been traced back over 1,000 years, but you would see how the mega trend that would be impact how we groom our traditional Thai boys and girls, groom traditional Chinese boys and girls. Because the mega trend that has been impact first, you will saw this morning, is technology. I have sit here, taking a photo, and then I post and tweet. So at least, over 13,000 of my followers could see what has been happening right now. So that's the technology has been impact, to the change of their behavior, especially the youth or the younger generation. You will see the emerging of social media, the numbers of users of Facebook, which is number of Facebook population is larger than the population of Japan, of the Japanese, who live in Japan and in some other location. The number of Twitter that has been growing, for the last 12 months here in Thailand has been growing very fast. So that's the new way of technology that has been impact the way you live. I could remember when I was the high school student, I studied here in Bangkok and then I moved to Chiang Mai, the north part of Thailand. When I first have my girlfriend, we have to write the letter. And you have to wait about 7 days, to receive, the letter or to say hello or say goodbye to her. But right now, you just go straight, to your either Twitter, SMS, or whatsoever. So that's changing the new behavior, the lifestyle of this technology. Secondly, you would see, the booming, of the megatrend of the growing of urbanization. Urbanization has been making people to adapt to live in a urban new lifestyle. For example, you would see when some of you might came from London, come from New York, came from Sydney, Melbourne, or some other places apart from Asia. But you will see a lot more impact of this megatrend, of the consumer product lifestyle, the way people have to adapt to the traffic jam, to adapt to the 10, 12 million people who live here in Bangkok, to look for, much more healthy life, to look more for the green space for you to jogging, after you work, or spend your time over the weekend. So that's the changing of the megatrend that will be impact your life. So people right now concerned about, much more physical health. So they are much more selective, to drink water compared with the soda or Pepsi or Coke, for the last 20, 30 years ago. People tend to be much more selective to eat a very good and healthy food, fresh vegetable, organic food when you go to supermarket. So they tend to be more healthy. They like to exercise, to go for yoga, they might go for jogging, go for some kind of to make their life much more healthier. So that means people tend to live longer. So you see a lot more population of the gray population, the senior citizen, the older generation that would be much more healthier, and much more wealthier, that could easily use, the technology that has been taught by their nephew. So that's the way of the megatrend that has been impact. You would see a lot more people traveling more. I would guess probably 80-90% of the people who live here, is not Asian. So that means you have been traveling all over the place. I could still remember, my first, as the younger student that travel overseas. They have, the whole people from my own village putting the flower on my head. It looked like that I would go and never come back again. But right now, you could just simply go to the low-cost airline, no matter what you take, Air Asia, Nok Air, or even, JetBlue in the States. So that's going to be very convenient. People like to travel around, and Asian destination, Asian city is very popular and lots of culture and heritage that people would like to explore. People is a lot more adventurous. You would see, this one of our speaker is one of a very successful, talking about the adventure. People tend to be much more traveling more, much more adventurous. So that's the mega trend that has been impact their life, especially the Asian youth. You look for how people is really concerned not only for themselves or their own family. They're concerned more of other people. So that means you would see, even the party tonight, you're talking about you raising fund to help Haiti. The last few weeks, they also have a lot of people here in Thailand, including celebrity artists. There has been raising fund, to help Haiti. I'm also the founder of Bangkok United FC, also raising the fund to donate through the government to the Haiti people. So that's a kind, of the mega trend that has been impact our life here in Asia. So that's going to be the question of how we could have truly understand, and that's the next challenge, if you're doing the business. That's going to be the next challenge if you are believe in doing goods for the society. They also have the new paradigm. They're going to have a new ideas that you need to truly understand how they behave. And that's going to be the question of today and tomorrow. So let's take a look of how I like to spend time and elaborate on this new group of people. I'm probably the same as many of you here that identify yourself as the baby boomers. I'm probably the late baby boomer, even though my face looks like Generation X. But again, the truly behavior is totally different and very, very different. When I talk to my son, which is like 20 years old now, he could be categorized as Generation Y, or he could be categorized as Generation A, or Gen A. Because he has been groomed from a very local and traditional, like my family. But he has been exposed, to the atmosphere of learning here at Rumridi International School, So he spent time, like almost like 10 years with international students that came from all over the world, especially most of them came from Asian countries. He had the experience to go out to see the world in the UK, in the US, not including, the trip that he's made in many major cities around the world. So that's going to be the question of how this Asian youth or Generation A would be absorbed, has been changing. The combination of the old traditional Asian value, combining with the new impact, from the trend, from technology, from the world that has been exposed. Another group of Gen A, that we're talking about, we call it Gen A plus. And Gen A plus we're talking about the Asian middle class. Because the Asian middle class has been more and more very important because they live, in the big city. They has been exposed to a very higher and very good education. So that's the opportunity that they have seeing, and I'd like to share with you some of the video, before we go into the survey and the detail that we have did. So let's take a look a few minutes on the clips video on the screen.
For the past 1,000 years, Asia has been the infinite world's wisdom. Until the present time, with a world population of 6.7 billion. The Asian population is more than 2/3 of the world population, with 28.38 trillion US dollars GDP. We are the growth engine for the next decade, with our new generation who are They are the Generation Asia, Gen A.
I don't know. I think our generation grows so much faster than the older generation. And I don't know. I think we are more confident somehow. In the way we speak, in the way we act, and we rebel more. I think.
And most of them are so mature.
Yes. Yeah.
Compared to the past. Yeah, I would like to have my own business. I think it's fantastic because I can choose to do what I want to do. If I'm employed, I have to follow the orders from the. It's not good. It's boring. I think the number one thing that we are concerned about is having fun with our job. I think that's the first one that we are concerned. I want to be self-employed so that I can do what I choose to do, what I want to do.
Next 10 years, I probably find myself designing, probably being a freelancer, designing some products, or maybe I tend to go for architectural stuff. And also probably part-time teaching ballet or tutor language.
So if you take a look, it would sound like probably your son and daughter, if someone meant to be having some kind of this conversation. We sound like very different from what we seems to be growing, for the last 10, 20 years ago. So what I did, is the survey. I like to see it's not only the clips video that we interviewed them, some kind of the location here in downtown Bangkok. But I did the survey in 17 locations around the world through Monkey Survey. We did the survey here in Bangkok, in Tokyo, in Beijing, Shanghai, in Los Angeles, Florida, in Stockholm, and also in Ho Chi Minh City to find out how they really think the Generation Asia. We have did survey about 564 people, aged around 18 to 35. They also have 45 of them is the student in the graduate, in the college and in the university. 35 of them is working in the private sector, or we call it the salaryman, or working in the organization. 9% of them is really the entrepreneur. 8% of them is the high school student, and 3% is the freelance, which is very more popular, kind of job. So I like to see, what they feel, and this is what we found out. That the most important job in the future that they are looking for is not the big corporation, the big brand name anymore. Goodbye to the big corporation. What they are talking about is not the higher salary, the cars, the benefit, but what they like is work-life balance. That's totally different from my age when I was, young graduate MBA, that I'm looking the job in my future. What they really like is the self-empower, how they could be living more by using their talent. Some of them is like technology, some of them is very creative, they are very good designer. It's like some of the interview that you saw, that younger lady, they like to become designer, architect, and they like to be freelance, they like to teach ballet. So that means they have the multi-job that they are work. And very important is that, no boss freedom. When you're talking about the well-known corporation, it's the least important, job that they are feel. They don't like to stay, they like to travel more, they don't like locality, work, and school-related is probably maybe not relevant anymore. You're talking about the difference between ladies and gentlemen, you feel that the women is tend to believe, and work for the society a lot more than men. At least 6 speakers who are ladies, I would say probably 100% that devote yourself, for the social responsibility or social concern. So that's a very thing has been changed. The younger generation, the students tend to be like to work on their talent. They like to be dream of international job, close to 80%. So that's going to be things has been changing. The idea has been changing from what we supposed to understand, from ourselves. So that's the change that we may need, not only, for their kind of passion, the idea of they have very dynamic, they are concerned about social, they are creative, they live in urban society. So that's, I think, the important part, that they are the economic growth engine of the world. It's not only your consumer, but they are also your son and daughter, the next generation, and they will become, the next Asian leader. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Say cheese. All right. I took that because I would also like to mention, if there happens to be any Twitterers in the room, if you want to send out a message to Twitter, please feel free to use the hashtag of TEDxBKK. So we can follow who's saying what, and more importantly, who you are. Our next speaker is an artist and a photographer. She is going to be talking about how Bangkok wakes up. And she has specific experience with this because she literally brought a pillow with her this morning.